Hi everyone, I hope you guys are all having a great day. Today I want to talk to you about Tardis Books. A Tardis book is a book that is small, but actually packs a really big punch. I got this idea from Simon at Savidge Reads, or I got the idea for the title from Simon at Savidge Reads. I wanted to share a few small books with you guys for the past couple of weeks and I just hadn't gotten around to it. And then Simon did this video about big books that he wanted to read, I think last weekend, big books. But he also said that the books don't have to be actually large. They could just be books that are big to you, books that you find particularly intimidating for some reason or other. And he flippantly called them Tardis books, which I just thought was hilarious. So I have been planning this video for a while and I got the idea for the title from him. So I will link his video down below where he talks about big books, and then another video where he sort of talks about why he prefers to read smaller books instead. So I will link those down below and check him out because he is hilarious and he has some really good and interesting thoughts on different books. So I will go ahead and get started with my first video in a series about Tardis books. For those of you who don't know, the TARDIS is Doctor Who's sort of time machine. It looks just like a blue police box, but it is actually a time machine. And you go in and it's this big, huge thing. It's just cool. So Tardis books are small books that pack a big punch, or small books that are very big and meaningful to you. So I want to share 3 with you today. The first Tardis book I want to share with you is called Einstein's Dreams by Alan Lightman. This is a book about Einstein, it's fiction, about dreams that he had while he was coming up with his theory of relativity. And it's just so unique. It's small. It is, let's see, it's 140 pages, okay? And every chapter is a dream that Einstein supposedly has on the different ways that time could work. Time could run backwards, time could slow down the farther you get away from your home, things like that. And then throughout these really creative dreams, you're given glimpses of Einstein's life while he's working in Switzerland at a patent office. So it's just so unique. And it's a short book. You can read it in a day, but it gives you a whole new perspective on the world that we live in. So it's a great read. You can read it in a day. It's 100% worth the couple of hours that it would take you to read it. The next book I want to talk about that is small but is super important to me is Why I Write by George Orwell. Now, the only George Orwell book that I've ever read is 1984. I read it because I was told to in high school, so I read it when I was 14. I need to clarify that I grew up in a very conservative area. I had very conservative teachers, and I was from a fairly conservative family. So I read 1984 from that perspective. When I picked up Why I Write a few years ago and read it, it changed my perspective entirely on George Orwell and 1984, and it really challenged me to consider that even though George Orwell's political views are entirely opposite of my political views, we can still meet in the middle and understand each other. It's a short book. The main essay in the book is Why I Write, but he also has several other smaller essays in it. The book in and of itself is 120 pages. It's teensy tiny. I could not read this book in a day because it takes time to process what he's saying. But he talks about why he writes, what he feels the job of the artist is in society, and it's fascinating and brilliant. It changed the way I think about 1984 because it gave me a truer picture of who George Orwell was, and it changed the way I think about literature in general. So that was pretty fantastic. I would definitely recommend it to anybody who liked 1984 or anybody who's interested in learning more about George Orwell and what he thinks about what writers do. And then the final small book that I want to share with you guys is The Problem of Pain by C.S. Lewis. This is another book that I couldn't get through in a day. It is short. It's under 100. Let's see. It's 162 pages, and then it probably has an intro. That's a couple of pages too. But in this book, C.S. Lewis addresses the idea that Christians believe that our God is good, but obviously there is so much pain and suffering in the world, and how the heck does that make any sense? It doesn't seem to make sense. Either we're all crazy or we're believing a lie. And so C.S. Lewis sort of addresses what he thought about it when he was an atheist, why his perspective changed, and then he breaks down why he thinks that pain exists in this world. And this book is not only challenging because it obviously addresses a very serious concept about my faith, but it also was the first time that I realized that I don't agree with everything C.S. Lewis says. The first C.S. Lewis book I ever read, I was 18, and I fell completely in love with everything that he had to say. I read Mere Christianity and the Screwtape Letters, and he became like this he just became one of my favorite Christian authors, and I thought for sure everything this man has to say, I am gonna believe. But then then this year, I get to the middle of The Problem of Pain, and there's a whole chapter in there that I think is just complete and utter nonsense. And it really challenged me because I had to decide, does what he is saying in this chapter change his whole argument? Can I still agree with what he's saying everywhere else in the book and not agree with his opinion on this matter? Because he does say it's his opinion. He says, what I'm saying might be utter nonsense, but I don't think it is. And I disagree with him entirely. I think he is just spouting nonsense for a whole chapter. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that even though I don't agree with what he's saying in one chapter of this book, I can still track with the rest of his argument. But it was a huge challenge for me to think through his argument step by step and see if I can still agree with it. It was also interesting to me because if I had read this book when I was 18, I don't know that I would have loved C.S. Lewis the way that I do, and I don't know that I would have gotten as much out of his other writings because I was just more narrow-minded then, which is fair because I was 18 and it's been 10 years, so I get to grow up a little bit, right? Please don't judge me for my 18-year-old thoughts or my 14-year-old thoughts about George Orwell. That's just how things are. We change and grow over time. And that's what I think these books are really about. These 3 books have challenged the way that I view the world, they have challenged the way that I view my faith, and they have challenged the way that I view reading. And I love them for it. They're short reads, and I would definitely recommend them. I would love to hear some of your favorite Tardis books. Share them in the comments below. And if you want to do a video like this, you absolutely should, because I think short books are a great way to sort of break up the monotony of all the bigger books that we like to read. Definitely share your comments down below. I hope you guys all have a great day. Thanks. Bye.